Hello, so this is Mr. Elf, and we're going to create a model of our plant populations to get the couple of screen captures that you're going to need. So on the back of your lab handout, there's a list of 4 required and 1 extra screen capture that we're going to need to get as we build this model. So this template is available on Moodle. We'll download the population modeling template and open it up in Microsoft Excel, and this is what you'll see. The first thing we're going to need to do is enter our data. You'll see I've given you labels for the numbers that you can manipulate. So if there's not a label next to it, you shouldn't be changing that number. You want to leave it alone so the model will continue to work. First step is going to enter your data. So seeds per fruit, that's what we counted in our in lab yesterday with your fruit dissections. So whatever number you collected, you need to enter that number. So I'm going to enter 150 as a placeholder, but you need to enter your own number. The fruit per plant, this is something that you can look up and you can estimate. So we have access to the internet. You're on the computer right now. So look it up and find out what is the average number of fruit that your plant produces per plant. So is there 1 corn per plant, 2 corn per plant? How many strawberries on a strawberry bush, whatever it may be. So I'm going to say 2 ears of corn per plant. And now you saw that our model is automatically calculating how our population grows based on the data that we just collected. So it's telling us that there are 300 seeds produced per plant based on the data we've entered. And then what that means, so you can see that we have everybody surviving, so we have some numbers here. Now that doesn't make much sense to me, so we want to get that graphed. So our first order of business is going to be inserting a line graph because we're looking at change over time. Now you might notice that we have no limiting factors. We haven't inserted any limiting factors over here. So this is our unchecked fantasy island growth over here. So this is our first screen capture already. To do a screen capture, there is either a button that says print screen on your keyboard, so you may need to look down and find it, or you can use the snipping tool, or I don't care how you do it, but you need to get some sort of screen capture of this process right here. So here's our graph with our unchecked population growth, and this will get added in a new sheet down here. So hopefully you're following along, and I'm just going to paste that screen capture in. And now I have evidence that I had this step completed as I'm working. So now I can come back here and I can continue working. So these numbers are really, really big. This is unreasonable. So our next step as we work down to our number 2 is we need a population displaying normal growth. So we're going to manipulate some of this. So what kind of competition will be reasonable? And these are survivors, not number that die. So what percentage of our population is going to survive the competition? So let's say that maybe it's going to be just 20% surviving. You'll see that our model now has changed. So we're down to 1E85, and that's a 1 with 85 zeros after it. So that's still way too high. That's not a reasonable amount. So maybe I'm going to have more die of disease. And it's going down, but that's 58 zeros is enormous. That's not reasonable. So maybe I'll add in some predation. And so only 1% of my organisms survive the predators. 19 zeros, we're getting closer, but that's too many. That doesn't make sense. So maybe I'll increase the number that die in competition. And this is some of the fun of having a model, is you can manipulate this and watch it in real time. So you need to continue to manipulate this until you see a reasonable number over here, something that actually makes sense. And along with this, it's because it continues growing and growing, so we also want to manipulate our limiting factors over here. So how many can actually survive on an island based on the sunlight that's available? So sunlight's pretty abundant, so maybe there's enough sunlight to support 1 million organisms. Well, that changed things a whole bunch. Well, let's keep working with it. Maybe water, there's less water. Maybe there's only enough water to support 2,000. Well, still changing. Space, there's a lot of space, so maybe we can support 500,000. And air, there's a lot of air, so we'll make that a big number along with our sunlight. So let's see. our growth rate is still really high. We got to get our growth rate down. This unstable population is happening because we have a big growth rate. So let's continue to manipulate some of these numbers until we get something. Growth rate's coming down, and so it's starting to get more stable here. Until, whoa, what am I looking for? On my handout, I'm looking for an S-curve, and sure enough, that looks like an S. So now I want to see what else it's asking me to do. Now that I have an S-curve, I need to highlight the limiting factor. The limiting factor is what is deciding that our population is leveling off at 2,000. So which of these numbers is leveling us off? And it looks like, well, water is only supports 2,000 individuals, and so apparently it is the thing that is running out first. So I need to highlight that. So I'm just going to add in some yellow there so it's highlighted. That's our limiting factor. And there's our S-curve, which is the 2 requirements here. So I will do another print screen, and I will add another new sheet. And now I have my second screen grab done. From here, the number 3, you are capable of manipulating your own numbers, so we need to continue this process to meet the requirements for number 3 and number 4. And the important thing here is we are changing these numbers, and I just want you to play with them. Just manipulate them. See if you can find a pattern. See what you can do to try and get your graph and your model and your numbers to meet these requirements. Don't forget to highlight the things I'm asking you to highlight, so that you can have all of your screen grabs finished and ready to submit back up on Moodle. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email. If you have trouble with your screen grabs, you can ask the librarian. Otherwise, good luck. Use your time wisely.